What's up, Restoration Nation? Rico Garcia here. Look, today I want to talk about something really important. First and foremost, this show is brought to you by Total Ads Domination. That's right. We are opening up the Total Ads, Google Ads Domination course for contractors and entrepreneurs. If you're a roofer, if you're a public adjuster, if you're a water mitigation, mold remediation specialist, if you are in the home services arena, then this is for you. What I am doing is I am opening up the Total Ads Domination course for a small group of students at this price point anyways, before it jumps up substantially. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and jump in. So what is Total Ads Domination? Very simple. It is a step-by-step formula that you can go ahead and use in your business to start bringing marketing in-house and to really start getting the ROI that you want when it comes down to your marketing dollars. How do we accomplish this? Very simple. Step number one is we walk you through the entire process, how to go ahead and do competitive research, how to look at your competition and find their best winning ads, the ones that have already been proven to be generating a return on their investment time and time again. We're going to show you how to go ahead and cut your ad spend in half by just simply making a few simple tweaks. We're going to be giving you worksheets. We're going to be giving you downloads and cheat sheets and scripts and everything that you need in order for you to be wildly successful at the game of advertising and marketing in your space. Look, nothing is more important in your business than marketing, because if your phone isn't ringing, if you're not getting your salespeople in front of the customers and they can't make sales, nothing else matters. With Google Ads Domination, all of that is a thing of the past, because now you have the freedom and the confidence to enter any market at any time and immediately know that with just a few clicks of a button, you can go ahead and get your phone ringing. So what you're going to get with the Google Ads Domination course is the pre-recorded videos, all of the modules walking you, like I said, A to Z, how to set up your Google Ads account, how to set up your marketing accounts, how to go ahead and do the research to find those winning ads that have already got a proven track record of success. So that way you're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars and months of time testing. You're also going to get a lot of cheat sheets, a lot of downloads. We're going to be showing you how to step-by-step over the shoulder, how to build killer landing pages, which again sounds complicated, but trust me when I tell you, it's super, super easy. More importantly, this is the formula that we've used in our restoration company to go from $0 to multiple seven figures in a very short period of time. And not only for us, but for other roofing companies, for other public adjusting companies, for mold assessment companies, and pretty much anything in between in the home services arena. This formula has worked and will continue to work. And I want to go ahead and invite you to join our elite group of students, so that way you can go ahead and start getting these returns as well. Now, besides the pre-recorded course material, what you're also going to get is the coaching calls, which we do once a week. So this way you're never left alone. In other words, if you ever get hung up, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you get stuck on something in your Google Ads account or in your landing page experience, or maybe you're not getting the conversions that you want, whatever it is, on that live call, coaching call, you can go ahead and show us the back end of your account. We'll go ahead and make whatever tweaks it is that we need to make. And that way you're never left alone whatsoever. And you can go ahead and start dominating your local area. So I'm really excited. Make sure that if this is something that's ever been on your mind, if you ever wanted to learn how to properly market, especially in today's day and age, right? Like, 'cause marketing is changing so fast. It's changing so rapidly that honestly, if you're falling asleep at the wheel and you're just outsourcing this without really having an understanding of how it works, this is where a lot of people are losing major bucks. And my own personal opinion, I believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, restoration companies and contractors as a general whole are going to be left behind if they do not bring their marketing in-house. So that being said, make sure that you check it out. If this sounds like something that you want to do, go ahead and click in the video description below. We're going to go ahead and have a link there to the Total Ads Domination, Google Ads Domination course and coaching program. You can go ahead and find some more information there, and hopefully we can welcome you aboard. Again, this is going to be only available for a limited time and for a limited amount of students before the price jumps up yet again. Meanwhile, want to give a big shout out to CNR Magazine for sponsoring the show. Also want to give a big shout out to Company Cam, but as per usual, we will be taking a little bit of a deeper dive with Company Cam later on. So let's talk about today's show. Today's show is really exciting because look, it's about how to expedite your money. So today we are joined by Ryan Holliday, and he's the founder of IINK Payments, which if you're not familiar with IINK Payments is basically allowing contractors and public adjusters and anybody in the insurance billing to get their checks so much faster. Ryan is going to walk us through the entire process, where he came up with the idea, especially from the standpoint of a contractor, and all of the pains that this software really alleviates. But the gist of it is very interesting. The gist is, we've all had either a check that's been sent out to the from the insurance company to a mortgage company, and it takes us forever to go ahead and collect that check. Or sometimes as a restoration contractor, you and I both know, sometimes it doesn't get sent to us, right? Like they just totally disregard the fact that we have a work authorization or assignment of benefits or what have you, and just leave our company name right off of it. And of course the customer gets it. Now you got to be running around town, chasing down a customer, getting, signatures and all of this stuff. IINK Payments eliminates all of that stuff. And it's really, really amazing. And Ryan is going to be doing a deep dive into how that entire system works. And I really think that you're going to enjoy. If you want to learn more about IINK Payments, there is a link in the video description as well as in the show notes below, or you could just go to restorationdomination.com and just under the episodes, find Ryan Holliday, and all of the pedigree information is going to be located there. So I hope that you're excited. Get ready. I think that this is going to be a game changer for the industry. If you haven't heard of IINK Payments, make sure that after you finish listening to the episode, make sure that you reach out to them. Here's the best part, not to ruin the surprise, but the best part is if there's not a mortgage company on the check, it doesn't cost you anything, which is insanity. I was actually telling him off camera. I was like, why aren't you charging for this? But it's so much convenience, so much value add in this entire system that I think if you're a restoration contractor or a public adjuster or a roofer, this is going to be something that not only is going to give you a competitive edge right from the beginning. And Ryan, big shout out to him for spending the time with us here today to show us how this whole thing works. And meanwhile, let's dive into the podcast because I'm excited. Let's go.
Owning any type of restoration business is demanding of your time, your energy, and resources. And that's why we're here. This is Restoration Domination. If you're a contractor in water mitigation, mold remediation, biohazard cleanup, roofers, or public adjusters, you'll learn how to dominate using some of the techniques and strategies that our guests will share. We'll interview top industry insiders, movers and shakers, hustlers and hackers, and anyone dominating their industry. This is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, and dominate. And here's your host, Rico Garcia.
All right, guys, what is going on? I'm really, really excited because today we're going to be talking about how to be getting paid faster. And I think that that's possibly one of the most exciting things in our business, especially when you're dealing with insurance companies and when you're dealing with mortgage companies, right? Like we've all had our funds held up a lot longer than we would like. And today we are joined by Ryan. And Ryan, do me a favor, man. Can you fill in some of the gaps to the intro? Let our listeners know who you are, what you're all about, and how you are helping us, the restoration contractors, in the business.
Sure. And thanks so much for having me on, Rico. Real excited to drop some knowledge with the listeners today, but I'm Ryan Holliday. I'm a co-founder and president of IINK Payments. And we are a property restoration payments company that is focused on eliminating checks from the process. So if you can imagine I like to call it a euphoria, where the claim is approved and the money just goes where it needs to go within 24 hours to either pay the PA for their services and the rest of the contractor to get the work started. However, we need to move that money quickly and get that insured back to normal as quickly as possible. That's what we've built, and that's what we're up to.
Which is absolutely amazing. So can you give us a little bit of the backstory? Like, how did you, number one, like, how did you get into it? Where did this idea come from? And like, give us like the origin story.
So I was a roofer, and believe it or not, I didn't know anything about roofing. I didn't think I'd ever be on a roof. I was scared of heights, and this was back in 2016. I'd come down to Florida, started working for a company in Northeast Florida in the Jacksonville area, and learned pretty quickly that with all this storm work that we do in Florida, these paper checks that are issued by the insurance carriers also had mortgage companies on them. And so I, believe it or not, also had a background in third-party loss mitigation back after the crash of '08. And so I knew just what it was like to deal with mortgage companies at the servicing level and getting things resolved for their customers or our co-customers. And fast forward to today, or back in 2016, dealing with these checks, I was always the guy at my roofing company who called the mortgage company when there was a problem. And so I was just kind of fed up with chasing the money, as we called it, running around town for checks. A lot of my customers were an hour away. I'd have to plan my day around who had their check, and that was the neighborhood I was going to work that day because I had to go get the check. If I didn't go pick up the check, I wasn't getting paid my commission, right? So I had a public adjuster, and a very good friend of mine, Ken Lawler, that I was working with at the time, and Ken's another one of our co-founders. He and I got together one Sunday over a beer, and we were discussing just the challenges with all of our funds being held up at the mortgage company. And he said, I think with my background and your experience now in this industry and your background in mortgage, if we can get the right team together on the tech side, we could build a better solution for this market. And that's what we've been up to. And so that was back in 2016. We did a lot of research over the first several months, really finding no viable solution to the problem. And our ultimate goal was to just eliminate the checks entirely. Because even in 2016, we're like, what are we still doing with checks? Payments are going full digital these days. And so excited to announce that this year we will be beta testing with a couple carriers where there will be no check issued at the approval of that claim. It'll just be a digital payment that comes through our rails and goes to where it needs to go. So potentially saving weeks, if not months of time and frustration that otherwise everyone would have had to go to or go through with a paper check.
Yeah, we were talking off camera about just digital money, right? Because you have so many solutions. You've got Zelle, you got Cash App, you got PayPal, you've got all of these different ways to immediately send money. But yet the whole insurance game and the mortgage companies and everything else, it's like that one aspect of business where it really hurts a lot of businesses, right? From a cash flow perspective, because number one, especially for us in the restoration arena, we're floating a lot of jobs. The majority of our jobs are financed basically by the restoration company. So then you add to that, however long it takes for the check to be sent out in the mail. And then of course it never gets sent out to the right place. Sometimes they don't put your name on it. Sometimes it goes to, the homeowner or the business owner. And then all of a sudden they, start getting funny with your money. They don't want to go ahead and release it. So this is like, it just seems like this is something that just should have been here forever. But now here's the big question. How difficult is it to get the insurance companies involved and to get the mortgage companies involved and saying, hey, by the way, this is kind of like the new way that you should be doing it? I mean, how hard of a pitch was that?
It's not too difficult of a pitch anymore. I mean, maybe a few years ago it might have been difficult, but we were primarily a service-based business back then. We didn't have our banking integrations. We couldn't move money in the way that ultimately everybody needs to move it. And so now that we have a viable solution, they're very excited on both sides of those fence to, integrate with us and start using our technology. We have some mortgage companies that have started to digitally endorse checks on our platform, so that way we don't need to mail them off anymore. We have more to follow this year. And for the carriers, they have a lot of the same challenges that contractors have and restoration professionals have. understanding if they've been paid enough or how much they've been paid on certain jobs. Have they been paid, everything that they're owed on certain jobs? Which jobs have they been paid for? It's the same thing. And they want to clean up the payment conundrum just as much as we do, I think, just in a couple different ways. So the conversations have been going really well. We are actually in an accelerator that is sponsored by a top 10 carrier right now. We're one of the shining stars in that group, so we're excited to kind of tout that. But the conversations have been very positive. It's just the speed at which they'd like to implement. But the other good news to that is, I think, on the carrier side, with one of the top 10s that we spoke with in the last couple of months, they said, look, guys, you don't solve one of our problems, you solve our top 5. And this would normally be a 2-year integration and sales cycle for any sort of vendor that's onboarding with us. We want to get this done in 6 months. And
Right.
So it's a massive problem, and it's not just the folks that are within our industry experiencing it. It's on all sides. And mortgage companies, they love it too, right? Because they can cut down on overhead and help get the properties that they're managing back to their real value as quickly as possible. They don't want it exposed to any more liability than it already has been. And if you remember back to 04 and 05, when we had a lot of named storms that came through the Southeast, and everybody, certainly remembers Katrina. This was prior to going into the housing crisis. We had all these storms where insurance companies were coming out and cutting, policy limits checks. And if you are a couple that is thinking that you're about to be upside down your mortgage, now your home was just destroyed by a hurricane, you got a check for $225,000 and it's made out to 2 of you, what do you think most people did with that money? I mean, they unfortunately took off, and by the time the servicing companies, the mortgage companies showed up to start the foreclosure proceedings, there was really no property to foreclose on. And so
Right.
from that point forward, the government-sponsored enterprises, the GSEs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Macs of the world, they stepped forth and said, look, from here on out, if you're a mortgage servicing company, you need to be included on the mortgagee clause in the insurance policies for all these carriers. And so now, anytime there's a property claim, mortgage companies are listed as a payee, they're involved in the process, and you and I both know it's a real hassle. And so we've essentially built the digital mousetrap for all that information to be verified much faster, much more instantaneously, and that allows us to limit their liability and move the money as quickly as possible. So we're great reception from either side of the fence there.
Nice. But I got to imagine, like, in the beginning, right, the early stages where, they were so used to doing it a certain way, must have been a totally different conversation then, right?
Yeah, well, and that was the other thing, is we couldn't go to the insurance companies and say, hey, we have a solution, but it's really only going to help 10% of your customer base. That wouldn't have made sense. Where nowadays we can have any mortgage company onto our platform or any insurance company onto our platform, and either digitally verify and endorse the funds if you're on the mortgage side, or if you're on the carrier side, issue the payment digitally, knowing that it's going where it needs to go, and that we have notified the mortgage companies of what's going on. We've verified the contractor or the professionals that are tied to those funds already. The homeowner signed off and everything, and it's in accordance with the guidelines that everybody's following on the mortgage side. So we can kind of take that out of their hands, and instead of mailing that check off, having them read all those documents and verify everything manually and then stamp the check and send it back, we've done it electronically and stamped it, and the funds just moved. So
Right. So, and I just want to make this very clear about who's actually is benefiting here, right? I mean, obviously there's, the big entities, the insurance companies and all of that, but just to make this crystal clear, public adjusters, roofers, water mitigation, mold remediation guys, if you're dealing with insurance and or a mortgage company and there's a client involved, this is a solution for you, because again, just want to make that really clear, because sometimes people are like, oh, well, this is a public adjuster solution, or this is only a roofer solution. Like, no, if you've got funds that are being distributed by an insurance company and or a mortgage is listed on it as well, and there's clients, however many that may be, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, it doesn't matter, right? Which is definitely the next thing that I want to get into, is this entire system is so buttery smooth. I mean, you were just showing me right before we started jumping here live, and you just showed me the whole back end of how easy this entire process is. So of course, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show that video, but I'm sure you have demos on your website and whatnot. But when I'm saying that this is super easy, it's amazing. So walk us through what a typical scenario would look like and, what those steps are, right? Like, hey, whether the contractor gets to check or the homeowner gets to check, give us those scenarios and just really to try to bring it home for, the listeners.
Sure. So I would say that the first thing everybody should remember with IINK is that whether there's a mortgage company on that check or not, you can upload it to the platform. If there's no mortgage company on the check, it's actually a free service, and we can save you time. We can save you gas money without having to drive around just for check exchanges and endorsements to get that money where it needs to go, which is in your bank account.
And that's huge.
It is, especially nowadays with $5 to $8 a gallon. So for me, it was still a huge time suck because remember, I had customers who were an hour away. If the check landed, I had to drive out there to go get it. And while you're driving, you can't really do too much else. So it was a lot of, I think, wasted effort, wasted time that could have been refocused in much more fruitful areas of the business. But you can upload any check. If it's a multi-party check to our platform from an insurance company and it's got no mortgage company, I would upload it. And the cool thing is, even if you're not on the check, you can be approved to receive funds. And so let's say, for example, I'm a public adjuster, Rico, and you and I have a property that you're looking to repair. The insured has selected you as their contractor. It was a little bit difficult, and so I stepped in to help out, get the claim approved, and made sure that there was good value to the claim. Insurance company cuts the check, and I'm on it because I was the PA, right? The insureds are going to be on it because obviously tied to the claim, and then let's say there's a mortgage company on that check, okay? But you as the contractor, you're not on the check. And so you're obviously going to be receiving funds to do the work. I'm only getting my portion. And rather than me run out to do a check exchange with the insured and then hold on to my fee check until they actually get that check deposited, because we all know that's what most PAs do is they'll collect their fee check and then just hang on to it until that primary insurance check is fully deposited, and then their fee check won't bounce. And so with us, I would take a picture of that check front and back, upload it to our platform. And you saw me do this earlier. It took less than 2 minutes for me to put it in. So I upload the check front and back. I attach the scope. I enter in a couple claim details, and then I put in who's attached to that payment, not just that claim. And so even if you're not on the check, Rico, I'm going to add you as a stakeholder. And then once we submit that check, IINK will verify it, and then the insureds will receive their request via text and email. They'll see a picture of the check. They'll see that I'm receiving my fee. They'll see that you're receiving the remainder of the funds, and then they're going to sign off and approve everything. And once everybody signs off, we give, actually IINK would give me a shipping label because I have the check and I'm going to send it off to the mortgage company. We still need the mortgage company's signature. So if they're not digitally endorsing, we still send it to them, but IINK handles all the back and forth. All you've got to do is drop that check in, slap the label on the FedEx envelope and fire it off. And then once FedEx scans that label, we would move the funds to your account and my account within 24 to 48 business hours if we've opted in for the advance funding. So you and I don't need to wait for that mortgage company to do their thing in order to get paid. I can get paid tomorrow.
Which is amazing, which I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. But let's just take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. Hey, Restoration Nation. So real quick, I want to talk about your estimates. And being in the restoration industry, look, we have to make sure that our documentation is super tight and it's on point. And we want to eliminate as much back and forth with the insurance carrier as much as we possibly can. And this is why I want to talk to you about Impartial. And I really love the name because it's supposed to be impartial. Kind of get it? So the reason why this is such an amazing software is because it uses the technology that most of us are already using, which is the Matterport technology, and then basically makes this on steroids when it comes down to building your estimates. And Impartial has three main offerings that I want to talk to you about real quick, starting off with Impartial Scope. Now, when we're talking about Impartial Scope basically allows you to generate a carrier-approved worthy estimate. And basically the way that it does this is by extracting all of the relevant data from pre-mitigation as well as your post-mitigation scans and packages this up in such an amazing way to where it eliminates so much back and forth. And again, the whole idea as our industry evolves is to harness the power of this kind of technology. Not only that, but it also has another offering, which is impartial embed. And basically what this does is it gives you the ability to go ahead and tag with highlights, your general scope notes, mitigation activity, moisture readings, and so much more information. You even have the ability to go ahead and upload JPEG pictures, PNG, ESX, and so much more right into the impartial tags, which makes your documentation that much more tight, which ultimately leaves less room for people on the other end to have much of an opinion as to what your estimate is about. Because again, this is all about harnessing real physical data. So not only that, there's obviously a lot of industries or a lot of instances where you're going to need to make some changes to your estimate. And lately, what we've been seeing is a lot of back and forth between Xactimate and Symbility, which leads us to impartial convert, where it basically takes any estimate and can change it between Xactimate and Symbility and vice versa, and really makes this entire process very, very easy. And we've got something really special for you, Restoration Nation, for listening to the show, watching the show, and it's an amazing offer that I want to go ahead and extend to you. And that is if you head on over to info@impartial, and that's impartial.io/domination. And again, the link is going to be in the video description as well as in the show notes below. You're going to get an amazing offer, and that is a total of 99% off their enterprise plan. So just go ahead and visit info.impartial.io/domination. Go ahead, check them out. You're going to be happy you did. Photo documentation is possibly one of the most important aspects of what it is that we do in the restoration business. Not only so that the client knows exactly what's going on, but also so that you can prove your work to insurance companies. One of the best ways that I've found to go ahead and document our projects is by using Company Cam. Company Cam is an amazing app. It has so many features, everything from timestamped and GPS located photos, individual project files, unlimited photo storage, in-app communication with your crew, a live stream of all of your projects as the photos are coming in, as if it was an Instagram feed. So from a managerial standpoint, Company Cam can help you there as well. But more importantly, it gives you the ability to protect your organization while documenting and keeping everything nice and neat. So we've got a really special offer for you. If you go to companycam.com/dominate, not only will you get your 14-day free trial, but you're also going to get the first 2 months 50% off. So again, head on over to companycam.com/dominate, get the app, and I'm sure you're going to love it. All right, guys. So we are back. Anyways, I think that the big value is just really setting yourself apart from another contractor, right? And again, maybe 5 years from now, that's not going to be, a big deal because maybe everybody is doing it. But for right now in today's landscape, like that's just one extra feature that you as a pro can say, hey, look, we thought about this, and this is why, we do A, B, and C. I just think it just adds this whole other level of professionalism and understanding of the market and what it is that the customer is going through and how we don't want to stress them out, running around town and signing checks and doing this and doing that. No, we make everything really nice and simple for you. Here you go.
You're 100% correct. And we have clients right now that certainly use this in our presentation as part of their process and why they stand out amongst, other roofers or other professionals in the industry. And so anything you can do to improve process, improve customer experience, and take that pain away. It's not just, slapping the roof on and being great at roofing, especially in insurance. There's a never-ending process sometimes. It feels like these contracts and these deals can go forever. But at the end of the day, if you've laid it all out on the line, you're upfront about some of the challenges that could come up in the process or that will come up in the process. I think that's really where, good, especially contractors and anyone, PAs, attorneys, restoration professionals alike, should be upfront about here's all the bad things that can happen, but what have we done or how are we prepared as a company or as a professional to handle it? Let me show you. And
Right.
IINK is one of those things. And it's we tell people all the time, we don't want you asking for the insured's mortgage details. Why would you want to do that? But we do want you to let them know, hey, if you have a mortgage, don't worry. We're partnered with a payments company that's going to help expedite the payment so that you don't have to wait on your mortgage company's verification of everything.
Well, there's something else too, right? This whole other, and again, I think that this is really valuable for people that, are watching and or listening, because there's this whole other aspect of helping you close a deal just by making this presentation, because you're future pacing. So yes, you can talk about, hey, look, these are all the things that could potentially go wrong, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to set you up with this. You're going to have your login. Once that check comes in, this is basically how we're going to start distributing funds. And what that does is, even though you mentioned everything that could go wrong, right? And nobody has a crystal ball, but again, people listen, they hear what they want to hear. And for you to be able to say, hey, let's future pace this thing to, this is how you're actually going to get your hands on your money so that you can go ahead and do your repairs. I think that that's really valuable because it puts them in a totally different mindset, right? Right early on in the presentation. In other words, you're basically assuming that whatever it is that you're out there to accomplish, whether it's putting on a new roof or settling a claim or whatever it is, you're already putting yourself as a professional who's saying, hey, look, this is basically, for all intents and purposes, this is already handled. As a matter of fact, this is how we're going to process payments. And you kind of already get them in that mind frame that I think could actually contribute to closing deals. I'd like to get some data on that. I'd love to see, I wish that we could do like an A/B test to see how that would potentially improve close rates and signed contracts just by using that future pacing aspect and getting people, the buyer, involved.
That would be interesting. If IINK could say, well, statistically, companies that are IINK verified are closing X percent more than companies that are not IINK verified. As if we didn't have enough of a value proposition yet, that certainly would be a pretty good one. I think one that we can control is the protection of everybody's funds. And what I mean by that is right now, any payment that is processed on our platform, we're going to guarantee it, meaning that let's say there's a mortgage company on a check, everybody signs off on it in the IINK platform, it goes off to the mortgage company, and the mortgage company decides to send it back to the insured because that's their policy. They don't care about our authorization or our direction of pay. They send it to the insured, and the insured says, well, this contractor didn't clean up 4 nails in my rose bush. I'm keeping this check.
Right.
So we know that that's nonsense, right? And so obviously we're going to make sure that those funds go where they belong. We have an integration currently with a company called LevelSet that's automating the lien process for restoration professionals. And so if we need to take that point, we will, just to protect everybody's interest in getting paid what they're owed. But in the future, when the check doesn't exist, and you and I kind of touched on this before we got on the podcast, but in the future when there is no check, there's no more holding a check hostage. Everyone's going to agree to who's getting paid what when certain things occur. And for a public adjuster, I would say as soon as that claim's approved, your job is done. You should be paid whatever you're owed, and that's where the money is going to go. For a contractor, same thing. When the job is done, the depreciation is going to go where it goes. It's not going to go to the insured, and then they're going to play this game of deciding whether or not they want to pay you. Of course, if you haven't done your job correctly, the insured has every right, I think, to come after you as a contractor, but they shouldn't be holding that check hostage. And in a lot of cases, there could be checks, if you have a depreciation check that's 70% of the RCV, they're holding up not just your profit, they're holding up your labor, your material. You're floating a lot of that job over something that could be a simple fix or something that certainly does not warrant that amount of money being held hostage to your business. And so many little things I think that can come into play cash flow wise for restoration professionals. And trust me, we've tried to think of almost every single one of them, and we want to solve for every one of them. But I would say that the value proposition of being able to guarantee restoration professionals they're going to get paid on our platform is definitely here. We're enforcing that now. It's something we haven't always had, but we have it now, and we're thinking forward to ways that we can kind of exercise our banking capabilities even while the check still exists. So if you can imagine, check lands where it's not supposed to, and we know that, we can just pull it and put it where it belongs. We're working on our terms of service and our capabilities right now to be able to do that, so that even if the carriers do issue a check, we can still protect your interest in the funds. So,
right, which is a nice little bonus.
Yeah, I to me, that would get me more excited than the added closing ratio, because I can tell you I've sat down with so many contractors and they tell me that their loss rates are 10, 20%. And okay, well, you're losing 20% of the contracts you write, but you don't want to pay 2% to protect all the funds that are going into your platform. I don't get it. Or one, that to me, I think is the bigger solve for contractors especially.
Yeah. So talk to me about, obviously you're doing a lot on the education front and educating the contractors on the benefits of everything else. Let's talk about like marketing. Like what are you guys doing to, on the digital front to get your messaging out there and get it in front of more contractors? Like what's that landscape look like for you guys?
So we go to a lot of trade shows. I think in the last 45 days, I've been to 6 different events.
Nice.
And they keep coming. We have more coming up here in the end of this month in April, May. But we also work with Business 411 out of Fort Lauderdale area, and they do a lot of our social media marketing. We have another company that we work with that does outbound lead generation as well. We have internal salespeople. So just this year, we've really kind of beefed things up. We wanted to get the platform to a point at which we knew it could handle just increased volume at large. And I can tell you that last year was not the smoothest beta launch. We had some customers that came on early with us to try it out. And I really, appreciate everybody who's been on the platform and stuck with us, because we definitely went through some hurdles and some kinks. But I don't think we would have had the opportunity to resolve a lot of them if it weren't for the folks that, stuck through it and went through the beta with us. Because if we're as easy as just launching an app and saying, here, everything's fixed, trust me, we would have had it done a long time ago. But now I think fast forward a year later, we are much better prepared and have a lot more systems in place. We have a much larger staff. We went from last year, right around this time, I think we were bringing on our 4th full-time person, and now we have 20 plus a ton of contractors outside of the company. But I guess I say all that to say this: we were much further than we were last year. We've grown at an astronomical rate, and we're just dumping gas on the fire now with marketing. But yeah, we're doing it all. We obviously I'm on as many podcasts as people want to hear me on. But any way that we can get the word out to the restoration industry, I think the better, because it's something that everyone can benefit from. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the founders of the company. I came from this problem. That's how I discovered it. And, we are very passionate about solving it. Passionate to the point where, the other co-founders and I have even said that, look, we're not interested in any sort of money until this is fixed from cradle to grave, with the claim payment being issued digitally out of the carrier after the claim is approved. And when the job's done, the depreciation comes out just as fast. I want to see that happen, and then we'll talk about selling this bad boy. But we really want to see this change across the board for everybody, because it's something that not just helps restoration professionals and insureds, but also the mortgage companies and the carriers. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have a product and or a service where it's legitimately a win-win, where all parties are winning. And, you don't really see a lot of that. I know that a lot of companies say that that's what they kind of strive for. But this particular scenario, I mean, we're talking about, this is a huge win for the contractor, right? This is a huge win for the homeowner or the property owner. And it's a huge win for the insurance company as well, and the mortgage company. So it eliminates a lot of the fat, a lot of the drag that, basically takes place with just the old fashioned way of doing things. Because again, these are man hours, right? These are man hours. There's a lot more errors. There's a lot of other things that can go wrong, but this is like one of those like perfect solutions that, and again, it's like, I always go back to it. It's like, man, it should have always been this way. Like we should have had this solution 10, 20 years ago. Like what's going on, But, it's good to know that finally the industry is starting to catch up. The industry is now at a place where, great, you get the check, you get paid, customer gets paid. Everybody it just makes it so much smoother.
I can tell you that some companies on the enterprise side have been trying to solve this problem without success. And we've been told by some of those companies, not that they couldn't build what we're building, but they just don't have the experience that we do at the contractor level or the PA level. Right. And so I think, again, one of our advantages is that we came from this industry, we came from this problem, and we're able to understand not just, the payment out of the carrier, but beyond that payment. Who else is getting paid within this ecosystem? How can we automatically pay salespeople? And the answer is yes, we're working on that. Can we automatically pay materials bills? Yes, and we're working on that. So it's more than just the payment out of the carrier. It's making sure that that payment goes to vetted professionals. Every entity has signed off on it. We've provided all the remittance that is necessary to the mortgage companies so that we've eliminated any liability to them. And then who else is getting paid, right? It's not just a contractor. It could be a contractor, a PA, and an attorney. It could be the contractor and then also their salesperson or the material supplier or what have you. I mean, it's more than just that one payment. And so we
in some weird way, it almost becomes, or it can become, from what I'm hearing, its own, per project accounting solution. Because now you say, hey, look, X amount of dollars, this is what the check is. Great. We've got potential commissions that get paid out. We've got supplies that need to be distributed. We've got, all these different, things that normally, again, it's very easy for, companies to get jammed up on a particular project because, they kind of pooled all their money together. But to have this kind of solution to where it's like, okay, great, this gets paid out, this gets paid out, A through Z, just go down the list. I mean, that seems like in and of itself, it's like one of those massive project management solutions as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the more that we can automate and do for contractors and restoration professionals, the better opportunity they have to be great at what they're great at, right? Go be great at production if you're a contractor. Go be great at, settling the losses if you're a PA. Don't aspire to be great to sit on hold with a mortgage company for an hour just finding out what's going on with your check. Don't aspire to be great at accounting and accounts receivable. I mean, you need to be, right? In this industry, you got to stay on top of it, but learn to use the tools and lean on the resources in your industry that'll help make that faster, especially for your customer, or easier or more efficient.
Yeah, totally agree. So let's talk about company culture real quick. I mean, you had some crazy growth, right? I mean, what was it, from 4 to 20?
Yeah, and we're this year is probably going to go from 20 to 50. Right. So we're growing really quickly. I think our biggest challenge, well, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but it is. Working distributed throughout the country and the world is a challenge with COVID. You don't have the same opportunities to collaborate like companies do or like workplaces do when they're all working together. But it's also worked to our advantage in the sense that when the pandemic hit, we got actually more productive because everybody was able to work from home and a lot of our advisors were able to get more involved. And so I would say that our company culture is challenging in the sense that we don't get to be together all the time, but we definitely focus on ways that we can, make it more fun, or we can get together and do things remote. I mean, we have every month we have a virtual happy hour where we all come on and try to talk about things other than work and stuff like that. And anytime we're going out to one of these events, we try and get the team or the leadership together at these trade shows or at these company sponsored events within the industry, these educational events that we sometimes participate in. So I would say that's my best assessment of company culture is, the challenges, we're not all together, but we do our best to work through it.
Yeah, I mean, but on the flip side of that, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are missing the whole office atmosphere, and they're like, oh man, I wish that we had everybody back in one roof. But there's something to be said about the remote working aspect, right? I mean, the productivity, depending again on how, who you have working for you. I mean, I think that applies even in an office setting, right? But just that flexibility. I think there's a lot of good things that have come from the quote unquote COVID, scenario, because people are like, hey, you know what? It's kind of nice. Take the kids to school, come back and I'm at home and, bang out whatever work it is that I need to bang out. And, the productivity is certainly there, but there's got to be some challenges, right? To keep people connected in the environment, especially once everybody's like virtual. I mean, have you noticed any particular challenges on that, or have you had to like incorporate new things to try to keep everybody connected and on the same page?
Yeah. I would say that, the collaboration challenge is always the biggest one. Problem solving, I think, can happen much, much faster if we were all together in one room where you have, tech and sales and customer success.
Do you guys use Jamboards a lot?
And ops. I mean, we have Trello, we have Jira, we have, obviously our Google G Suite, we have our CRM, we have our app. I mean, there's so many, there's a program for everything. We have Slack, that's how we communicate a lot. Slack is great, by the way. I would definitely advocate for using Slack. It's kind of like, for all you old schoolers out there, it's kind of like AOL for business.
Yeah.
If you remember,
actually, that's a really good analogy. Yeah. AOL for business. Yeah.
AOL, so I've been different chat rooms and whatnot.
Yeah. So I've been pushing Slack really hard on the podcast and a lot of the lives that I've done and some webinars that I've been doing, mainly because, on the restoration side, and I think for a lot of other businesses, but this isn't only solely restoration. There's obviously people are talking about labor shortages, right? And I've just been pushing Slack as a solution because now as a business owner, if I only have, 10 guys on my team, and then, down the street, there's a quote unquote competitor, which really shouldn't be a competitor. It's just, a business colleague, right? And he's got 5 guys. Well, guess what? Now my team, if I can get him on a Slack channel and we can pool our forces together, it's such a great medium, right? And so that's one of the tech tools that I've been pushing really hard and trying to get people to start adopting it because it's such a great way to communicate.
Yeah, and from a managerial or a business owner perspective, the one thing I've always found challenging, and especially working remotely, is you find yourself repeating over and over and over the same thing, drilling home, and you get frustrated thinking like, I've already taught this twice this week. Why are people not getting it? But not realizing that, well, I've been talking to 3 different people. So with Slack, you can put it out there in a public channel and everybody can see the answer. Or if someone has a question, you can get multiple perspectives on how to answer that question from different people. So I think if you embrace it correctly, it can be a valuable tool.
And the threads are amazing too. So like say, for example, if you have one particular topic, insert topic here, and you want to get different perspectives, then you just create like its own little thread. So like, for example, so I have the way that I use it as well, because I work with a lot of public adjusters, I have them all on a Slack channel, right? And I have an estimator in the Slack channel. So basically what I'll do is I'll do John Doe, and that's like, under the hashtag, for those of you that haven't used Slack, it's basically all like based on hashtag rooms, basically. So it would be like hashtag projects, and that would be like our projects channel. And then we started off by customer name, and then we create a thread, and within that thread, now he's got all of his files. We can communicate back and forth. And that's really, really helpful, because even on email threads, sometimes like you get these complex email threads and you're like, what's going on with this client, right? But with Slack, it keeps it real nice and organized. And I think it's a totally free tool, I think, in the beginning. And I think
free and it's super cheap.
It's like free and then super cheap. And I think even the free, you get like 10,000 saved messages and files. I mean, it's a super, super cool tool.
Yeah, we love it. We use it all day, every day. And like I said, if you embrace it, it can be a big time save.
Nice. So one thing that I always ask my guests, and I probably should have prepped you for this, but hopefully
the answer is even better if you don't prep me.
So typically I always ask my guests if they have any books that have changed your outlook on life or that have had a major impact on how you run your business or how you hack your own personal productivity. If you had to name three, what would be like your top three business or personal development books that you've read?
Probably my top is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, obviously a classic. That book itself is really more about, I think, persistence than anything. To just not give up. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a good second book to read, because at first you got to get laser focused on just never stopping and then start fine tuning. So I think the order in which I read was actually Think and Grow Rich first, and then How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was over 15 years ago, right? And then fast forward to today, one of the books that we are heavy on in our organization is, our CEO is going to kill me for not remembering off the top of my head, but it's called Traction.
Yes.
And if you want step-by-step stereo instructions for how to run your entrepreneurial operating system, that's the book. And so it really lays out, I think, things that business owners, particularly in this industry, don't think about when they first start their business. And I think that would save a lot of people a lot of headache. Implement EOS and just follow the instructions. Why make business more challenging than it has to be? But those would be the three books that I would recommend. Is
Traction is actually, so I obviously on restorationdomination.com, guys, by the way, if you go to restorationdomination.com /book-recommendations, we have a laundry list of books that all of our guests have shared. And Traction, for a while, what we were doing is we were actually like numbering it, like seeing how many times it pops up. We took that feature off because it was getting like pretty crazy. But Traction
was probably getting some traction.
Oh yeah, Traction was definitely getting traction. That's for sure. But if you want to check those out, definitely make sure that you go to restorationdomination.com /book-recommendations with an S. And then, of course, under the show notes and the video description, we'll go ahead and leave links to the book recommendations that we just made as well. Now, Ryan, let me ask you this. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, first of all, obviously, IINK Payments, like where do they go? If they want to go ahead and connect with you personally, where do they reach out?
Sure. So best place to start is probably our website, which is inkpay.com, IINKPAY.com. You can go there. You can schedule a demo. You can sign up for the web app. You can also find us on social media. It's just /INKTech, IINKTECH, either on Facebook or Insta, LinkedIn, whichever one is INKTech for anything social. And then you can also give us a call, 833-GOT-INK, IINK. My extension is 701 if you want to get a hold of me. But if you see us at a show, I mean, almost as many restoration shows as we can get to, roofing shows, PA shows, we're at those as well. Or you can shoot me a direct email, which is just R.Holliday, my last name, HOLLIDAY, @INKTech, IINKTECH.com. So the only variations there, even if you go to inktech.com, it'll take you to INKPay, but those are the best ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Cool. So Restoration Nation, make sure you check out IINK Payments. If you go to inkpay.com, all the information that you need is going to be right there on the site. In the video description below, we're going to go ahead and leave links to all of his contact information, company information, everything as well. If you're listening to the podcast, in the show notes, you're going to have live links everywhere, or you could always head on to restorationdomination.com, check out the episode for IINK Payments, and then you're going to have all of their pedigree information there. Again, this is really, really exciting. Again, I know that I've said it 100 times, and I'll probably say it 100 more. I wish that we would have had this so much sooner, but it's here now. And, I do think that not only the headaches that it's going to save so many people, But I think for the early adopters, and again, I'm always thinking in terms of like marketing and sales and what's like one little thing that you can one up on your competition. I think that packaging this in your presentation as an added benefit to your customer, because it truly genuinely is, I think could really make a huge difference as well. And for those of you early adopters, you know what? Maybe we can track some numbers and maybe we can get the split test to find out if your closing ratio goes up a little bit. But Ryan, man, thank you so much for taking the time today and hanging out with us and helping us dominate. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rico, for having us and having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show.
Let's go.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, interviewing the restoration business's top industry insiders, the movers and shakers, the hustlers and hackers. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Hook up with us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Restoration Domination to catch video interviews, highlights, and behind-the-scenes content. And follow your host at Rico Garcia Jr. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.